Hello everyone, my name is Doruk, and today I'll be going over a Hobbit League game that I played against Biz. I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly. Apologies if I'm not. And this is a very standard game. Uh, I'm personally a relatively new player to the War of the Ring game and the War of the Ring community, so it might not be very interesting for many of you, but I believe that this is such a standard game that I think anybody can just look at this game in a very as a model of how usually some games go. And I believe it's like half the games usually go this way, and it's sometimes it, it's hard to find something new and new strategies and whatnot. But like this game is very textbook, and it taught me a lot. And then I believe it will be instructive for a lot of players as well, to a lot of new players. I want to emphasize that how maybe one should handle some certain scenarios, right? Um, this is gonna be a spoiler alert, maybe a classic Fellowship sprint race, Fellowship ring versus military shadow military race game. So just by me saying that, just probably you can guess how the game is gonna go. But it has small instructional moments for free people, I think, to take away from. So without further ado, let's begin. And I am playing as the free side with 2 tokens, and I think that's pretty standard for league games. Yeah, and I'm not going to be showing my opponent's card as much because I believe that seeing your opponent's cards when you're reviewing games can make you a little bit result oriented, like thinking wise, right? Which we don't really want because we obviously don't know what our opponents have when we're playing the game. So starting cards, help on looked for, and there's another way. Uh, they're good cards, but they're not playable and they're not immediately useful. So yeah, it's middle of the road kind of cards. I think. All right, here we go. So my opponent allocates 0 eyes, um, and rolls no more. And I roll 2 movements, a muster, and a palantir. Okay, very standard. I think 0 eyes. If I must speak about 0 eyes versus 1 eyes situation for shadow player, I'm a fan of 0 eyes. I think it just allows you to get Saruman faster, get the musters you need faster. Um, it also kind of depends on your cards, on your character card you have, because revealing the fellowship before Moria is actually very big for the shadow player. So if you have a very relevant pile drawing card or something, maybe you want to allocate an eye. It's always an ongoing issue, and people are always divided. But you know, yeah, you can choose either, and you'd not go wrong. I don't think. So okay, I start by passing. My opponent draws a card. And I pass again. They muster Isengard. I pass again. They start moving armies. Very standard. And I get going with the fellowship, and my opponent is just moving armies. I am moving for free. My opponent is in Daggerlads. I move down the elves once. I think this is correct. Like elves are always useful to put down at least once. Yeah. And my opponent moves armies. And with the final die, they're gonna get Saruman. Yeah, they just pre-prep. So here is an interesting question, the interesting branching path, right? What do you do with this Palantir? You can move for free. The third movement is big because it's into Moria, so next turn you won't be actually revealed in Moria. But giving an early ring to Shadow Player is risky, right? Now, even if they don't roll musters, or if they even if they don't roll attacks, they might very easily get Witch King. I think it's a double-edged sword, but like moving a third time for free is also really good. But what I opt to do is draw a card, and the reason is there are also very good cards that you want to get to fast as free people, such as Thranduil, Celeborn, A Power to Great, Scouts, um, King Brandsman, Dane, Dol Amroth, the Imrahil of Dol Amroth, right? All these cards are actually exceptional to get. They really increase your survivability. They're really important cards. So it's not not useful to draw, like, so it's an interesting thought. Let me know what you would do in the situation as free people. So I draw, I hit a Scouts, which is huge, and my opponent gets Saruman. Very standard first turn. I draw Elven Cloaks and King Brandsman, right? That's huge. My opponent allocates an eye, rolls no more, and I roll 3 movement. It's an excellent roll. I hopefully move twice, maybe move with a ring with a hybrid, and get Gandalf with the will, right? Pretty, again, standard, maybe. We'll see. My opponent moves on Sauron to war. They play Pits of Mordor. They're very efficiently using their dice. They're moving armies. I move. I am safe. They shadow lengthens. Now they're moving very efficiently, and their dice use have been very efficient, right? They're not wasting any time. I move again. I kind of hope that they hit me this movement, because then I get to kill Gandalf and get him with a will. But I'm safe. And they move. And then here's another interesting interesting situation. Do you do you move again with the ring using this hybrid die, and then get Gandalf with this will? The downside of that is that you're doing nothing militarily, and I have scouts, right? So I really want this Carrick army to go to Old Forest Road and prepare the classic Edoras to West Net move. A hybrid dice is really good for that, right? There are a couple of free people actions that you really want to do. Um, yeah, but like you can get Gandalf. Interesting, right? And they because the Shadow player is also threatening to be on Old Forest Road, so again, interesting choice. But I believe that you should, as free people, you should be a little bit more militarily focused, a little bit, when you're going for a sprint, when you're moving the Fellowship, because that's how you make time, right? That's how you waste shadow time. So you need to put up some sort of military defense as best as you can. Plus, I have amazing cards to help do that, right? If Nord goes to war, I have help unlooked for. I have scouts. I have King Brandsman. I have very good cards to defend Dew line, especially if the Northmen go to war. So I make the classic move. I don't use the ring. My opponent draws a card, and I move with this will, right? And they hit me, and I'm not revealed one. I just take the Gandalf. I really want to not delay getting Gandalf, so I need to take this inefficient hit, but I think that's correct. And my opponent attacks all four, score no cards it, I scouts away. All right, pretty good turn, right? Fellowship is on 5th movement. I scouted away to defend the Woodland Realm, and I mean, Shadow is moving super efficiently and super fast, but Fellowship is keeping up, right? So I draw an Ents and I draw Círdan's ships, gray cards. My opponent allocates an eye, rolls no more. They have not been rolling eyes, which is great for them. And I roll, and I get this, right? This amazing roll. Yeah. I have cards I want to play. Probably will play King Brandsman, get Gandalf, move twice. Like, that's an excellent roll again. I start by passing. There's no reason to rush Gandalf. Nothing is. I'm not in any rush. So, and they once they put Sauron and Easterlings to war, then I have to use my will to play around their Day Without Dawn. Gandalf, cool. They play New Powers Rising. Now, with this play, they're basically showing their hands, right? They're going for Dewline, Lorien plus 3 Rohan. That's 10. I have to defend one of those places. And luckily, I do have the ammunition to be able to do that, right? And what my opponent is gonna do, they're gonna put these 2 Elven strongholds under siege and get Witch King with this muster, and with this Palantir, they might attack or they might draw. But it's very it is very set what they're gonna do. And with this Palantir, yeah, I play King Brandsman because I really don't want him to actually attack Dale, take away this mustering point, and then siege Woodland Realm. But I was afraid that they I was afraid that they would do that, so I played this right now. But if they had done that, they can't. They can put the north to war actually, right? Like they don't have to besiege the elves. They can just attack Dale, take Dale, put the Northmen to war, and get Witch King because the North's at war, not the elves, right? So I play this now. And I don't know if there was an opportunity for my opponent to do that last turn and not. If they had waited to play this New Powers Rising, maybe they could have prevented me from playing King's Brandsman, right? It's an interesting thought, right? Um, but yeah, it's also because I was not showing any musters, right? So if they put the Northmen to war, I can't muster in Carrick. So maybe it was a little bit of a slight error on my opponent's part to play New Powers Rising then and there, but instead just attack this Dale army. Maybe, I don't know. It's an interesting thought, right? In that case, it was my mistake to wait to get the Gandalf at that point. I should have gotten Gandalf and, or maybe immediately played this King's Brandsman here and just protected Dale immediately. But oh well, all right. And I draw Riders of Theoden. It's a little sad that they moved away from Edoras, but whatever. And my opponent puts both Elven strongholds under siege. All right. They put the North one away. I move. I'm safe. They get the Witch King. They put it in Lorien. I move again. I'm safe again. My opponent plays Fighting Urukai with Durin's Bane, with Balrog, and they get 3 hits pre-combat. And then they get 2 more hits. So they basically, with a single combat round, and I get 1 hit. They just completely annihilated Lorien. Yeah. Which is super, it's a little lucky, sure, but like they played 2 very powerful cards there. Um, and they did it with the Palantir, so it's very efficient on my opponent's end, right? And they did like, yeah, they just like played that well. They super charged Lorien, destroyed it, And now they're even gonna get to cycle a card. It's very efficient play by my opponent. At this point, I was thinking because it's the end of the turn, technically, but like three people has the right to use one of the tokens at the end of the turn. I can at this point muster down the north. And then next turn I can immediately start mustering into Dale and maybe go for a help unlooked for play to maybe help this Woodland Realm army. But I don't do that. And I genuinely don't know why. Like I think it's like it's a very powerful play that I think we were playing fast and just I was thinking about it, but like it was a weird one, and I kind it's kind of a missed opportunity on my end to be able to put the North to war and just start building an army in Dale. Because if they just attack Dale, if they take away this mustering point, then the North being at war, yes, it still matters for Carrick, but like not as powerful, right? Uh yeah, I throw away the power of Tom Bombadil, I'm guessing, and what do I do? Elven Cloak. Okay. At this point, Fellowship is doing fine. I need some military defense, so I keep militarily apt cards, I guess. If you say like right, Kiernan ships defends Gondor, Ents, Daylight. Viper the Swifter is like a very quick way to either crown Aragorn or stick Gandalf in a siege. There is another way, is a heroic that Help Unlooked For is literally the card I need to be playing for at this stage. So I think those were correct sense. And Fellowship is, by the way, at 7 movements. And I don't declare uh outside the Rivendell because I can just separate people and basically get them anywhere on the map. If I were to declare outside Rivendell, I would activate a bunch of free people shadow player cards and just basically nerf the range of the companions, which not necessarily need to be done just to avoid this one Moria tile. I don't think it's worth it. My opponent allocates an eye, rolls 2 more, and I get this roll. This I'm 3 away from Mordor, so this technically means I can get into Mordor. However, if you look at the hunt pool, it's more than likely that I'm going to be revealed if I get hit, if I get caught. And if I move if I move once, okay, maybe it's a 50-50 ish that I get caught. If second time, it's that I'm very likely to get caught, right? So either I'm gonna use basically all my dice move, hide, move into Mordor, right? That's basically what's gonna happen. And probably we'll need to use a token to play around Cruel Weather. Or I will have to move once, yes, and then maybe separate some people, right? And then move them to places. And I have these musters, and this is I'm kicking myself a little bit. If I had put down the North War, right? At this point, I had 2 musters into Dale, for example, and maybe an attack with a character dice to this army, like, or maybe ring attack with help unlooked for, right? So yeah, I either fully commit to Mordor or just separate companions to get down to Gollum maybe a little faster, spread some captains of the West around vulnerable spots. For example, I can get them to Helm's Deep, right? I can put Legolas and Merry into Helm's Deep and at least shore up because the new Powers Rising is clearly coming and they're gunning for Rohan. Yeah, Gondor's not at in Shadow Player's range, but right, you always want to watch out for any surprise Corsairs to DA, right? Or I just separate Aragorn and try to crown him next turn. Like, I'm looking at this roll, and if I had a will, I would have definitely tried to crown Aragorn. Because moving 3 times against 3 eyes is just basically that will be my entire turn, wasting 2 dice, accruing bunch of corruption unnecessarily, risking Strider with randoms. I think it's just like a not the best option, but seeing how well the Fellowship was doing, I decided to basically rush. But I pass first. Okay. My opponent uses upgrades in Orthanc. Okay. I get going, right? Get going. First, I know I will do this, so let's do it. And I'm super caught. It's a 0 review, and I go through Moria, and it's another 1. Yeah, I just take the 1. And I think it's a slight mistake to put the Fellowship here. I think it should be in Dead Marshes to be closer to separation with these 2 dice, technically, because like I'm not the Shadow player is not really threatening to actually like swarm me, so just Dead Marshes would probably be better. And my opponent attacks Fords, chooses a card. No cards. Swarm bats, okay, and they get 2 hits. They destroy that, and I get 0 hits. Right. At this point, they're gonna get a cheap Helm's Deep, unless I do something to defend it with an army. Right. So that's what I do. But this is one of the biggest mistakes of the game that I make. I really need to hide the Fellowship and just get going. Right. If I hide, I get to move again and move again. If I hide, my opponent uses a C dice to maybe play a tile drawing card, and they reveal me again. I can hide again and move twice. So I can get to Mordor, right? Technically, right? Because they're showing a single card playing dice. So they either play a revealing card or they play cruel weather. And I can play around both if I hide with this and move twice, right? If they cruel weather me, I just like ring move with this muster. Or if they reveal me, I can just hide with this muster. So I can definitely play around, but like I don't. And I have no idea why. I think this attack into four just came at the perfect time for me to just lose sight of what was really important for a second, and I just like make this move. And I think this is a huge mistake because I could get into Mordor, right? The whole point of the Fellowship sprint is to sprint the Fellowship, and I'm basically delaying myself an entire turn by not getting into Mordor, which is a huge mistake. And my opponent moves down armies. Okay. And I hide with this die. And I'm basically hoping that I'm not revealed into these 2 moves. But looking at this, it's the second move against 3 eyes. I'm definitely going to get hit. And when I do, there's more than 50% chance that I'm revealed. Right? So if you probably do the math, it's probably like a very much a 50-50 to be revealed on the first move, or even maybe more. Because yeah, moving second. Let me just do the math. Okay, I'm back. So basically, the math says that it's a 70% chance that they hit me on the second move against 3 eyes, and they just above 50% to reveal me. So about like 40% ish chance to reveal me on the second move, right? So it's like basically like a glorified coin toss. And I just pass because I have to pass to play around cruel weather if I'm gonna move twice. And yeah, I technically can't play around cruel weather right now, right? Because if I swap the turn order, they just play with this army dice. I have to move, and they just cruel weather me immediately, and I can only move one. So I can't technically play around cruel weather, so I don't use a token. But they catch me, and I get an eye, which was probably one of the worst outcomes, right? Not only do they reveal me, but they reveal me with a two. Um, whatever to reveal. And at this point, I'm thinking to myself, I can't take this two. I have to start getting rid of some companions, so I'm gonna risk Strider. And I think this is correct. Like, unfortunately, when you get caught moving with the Fellowship, you cannot keep taking damage. You can't accrue damage so much, so high in the Fellowship track, so that, like, when you're in Mordor, you're at 6, and then you get Isildur's into Shelob and you're dead. Like, it's very risky to move this corruption track up, right? And when you have a big Fellowship, it's really, really difficult to mitigate damage because you can only take one corruption. You can only take one casualty per ton tile. So I take a random, and I genuinely think this is correct. You don't take every hit as a random, but like a two reveal, which is the most amount of reveals, right? I think you take a random, and I draw Boromir, which is perfect. Like a little bit of luck at least there, but I'm not in Mordor. I can't get into it because I mistakenly uh did not use that. You did not keep that hybrid die to hide right here, because if I hadn't, I would have hidden, swapped the turn order, and gone in, right? Yeah, unfortunate. But we move on, and my opponent attacks Dale, and I think this is really well played by my opponent. Like, I have nothing else to say. They see there are all these armies, and instead of besieging Helm's Deep, or they just attack Dale because, like, I genuinely don't know why. They probably are just looking to take away this mustering point. And they probably realize that I still haven't used my muster token. So if they attack anywhere else, if they do stuff in Rohan, I could just muster down north and start mustering, which I should have done last turn, if you remember. Um, but yeah, I don't. And at this point, because Dale is basically gonna go, I just throw away help unlooked for, because if Dale's gone, where is any help gonna come, right? To any place. So at least might as well like weaken this army a little bit more. And they get two hits, and I also get two hits with the card. They press, I retreat to the Erebor, which is at least Erebor is like well defended, but right. So like out of the dual line, Lorien and the Rohan, I only managed to defend Erebor, which is a bit of a shame. And then I hide. Okay, well, unfortunate, but such is life, right? If they had, if I kept the hybrid die, they could have maybe had a reveal, like a tile drawing reveal, but at that point, there's only tiny chance of revealing me actually. So I definitely misplayed. Like at the beginning of this turn, and my opponent just puts Helm's Deep under siege. Perfectly fine. And at this point, I use a muster token to muster down Rohan, and I think that's also a mistake. And here's why. It's because then at the first action that I need to do is move into Mordor next round. Because if they pull a tile drawing card, right, I will not be able to. They will waste another die, so I need to immediately move here, which means that gives Shadow enough time to cover this Vesternet and Folds places, and the only place I can muster is Edoras. And when you do, if you don't have any retreating squares, if you don't have any retreating like locations, then they just basically fight to the end and die. So Rohan is basically a no go right now, and I should basically focus on Gondor because if they're not gonna take Erebor, they're gonna take either Dol Amroth or Pelargir or Minute. Like one of these places is going down. Plus, if it's Pelargir, it's probably gonna be like Shire push, right? So Gondor is definitely gonna get involved, which means this master token should go to Gondor instead of Rohan, which is a mistake. So to sum up this turn, which was horribly played by me, I could have either gotten to Mordor or separated companions, slowed down the Shadow militarily, shed down the companions, maybe be two away from Mordor instead of one away, right? And had maybe a couple Dale units here, or be in Mordor alternatively, which was my plan. But like instead, because of this that misplay, I have neither, and this turn has gone horribly, horribly wrong for me, right? So turn 5, I draw Bilbo Song and Celeborn, and those are great cards. I throw away Bilbo. It's just basically because there's no corruption to heal. I'm not getting down to Gollum anytime soon. Um, and everything else I need to slow. I need them to slow down the Shadow Military. Shadow like his one eye rolls one more, and I roll a single move. And I immediately have to move in because David Adon hasn't still been played. And I play, I go in, and I'm safe. All right, I'm in Mordor. But I obviously have to swap the turn order to play around Cruel Weather in case I need to ring move again as last action. But my opponent got an exceptional roll, bunch of attacks, really good, right? They cover those two squares because now I put Rohan at war, I think mistakenly. And realizing this, at least, make it a little harder, I start mustering. And there's also a case to be made. These musters should maybe still go to Gondor, but it's tough because you put Rohan to war and now you're mustering down Gondor manually. It's maybe, but I think yeah, like this. Okay, maybe this it's not gonna slow them down, but it's gonna take away half a dice for Shadow, so at least it's something they play. It's weird because I basically gave them a free cycle, so it's like, was it worth it? Who knows? At least it deals 1 damage, so yeah, right. They cycle into Sheila, but obviously I don't know that yet. Um, and they just completely buff up Helm's Deep. They go into defend Dale, perfectly reasonable. I pass again. They attack Helm's Deep. Choose a character card. I play one of the daylights. I daylight they're terrible. They get no hits. I get 1 hit. They press. They don't play any card. And I play a daylight. They get 0 hits again. I get 2 hits. And they stop. So, I dealt 4 damage. It took two tail daylights, but at least it was something. All right, I'm starting mustering into Carrick because at this point, I'm dreaming of a scenario where this Carrick army does something, maybe retakes Dale or something, even though it's very unlikely. But I can't help but feel that Gondor should be at war, and I should look to defend Pelargir or DA at this point, but oh well. They attack Helm's Deep, they play a card, I play no card, and they get 2 hits, and then post, they get another 2, and they just kill me. And I get 2 back. It was expected, but such is life. All right. They're at 6 points. And obviously they're gonna take Woodland Realm and then one more stronghold, right? I draw. What do I do? Oh yeah, I play the token to reverse the turn order. At this point, I don't think there's this particularly reason to swap the turn order here. because if this sea dice goes to cruel weather, I'm gonna be, using either of them. And I think I just like draw a card, a strategy card, to see if I draw maybe Thranduil or maybe Imrahil. So at least something to play with this Palantir. And they muster into North Dunland, and I play Círdan. And here's an interesting decision. I don't know if this is correct. My opponent is clearly gunning for Corsairs, and DA is always a vulnerable spot. And Círdan's is the only card I can technically play here, right? So it's not better to, I think, let this Palantir go to waste. But I'm basically showing my opponent that I have Círdan, so they may think about not going to DA, right? Círdan's not a surprise, if that's what I mean. Like, if my opponent guns for DA and I surprise them with Círdan, that's a more powerful thing. But now that they know that they might not even put DA under their sights, right? Even now, right now, Minas Tirith is easier to get technically, like as far as pure hit points go. But it's an interesting thought, right? Um, and my opponent plays Nazgul Search to move the Nazgul and get an extra hunt tile draw, which is fair. They get a 3. And here, right, what do you do? Do you take a random? Do you just take it? If I take it, I'm at 4. It's decently high, but I'm not revealed. And the hunt pool is like this. Pretty high damaging tiles. And I decide to take a random. And yes, I realize I'm risking Strider. It's a huge thing, but like taking a 3 to the face is not fun. And especially because right after I throw a Bilbo song. And again, I need to get down to Gollum. At this point, it's 1 and 5, and I'm like, okay, like I'm gonna risk Strider to hopefully maybe again keep some corruption off the ring bearers. I take a random, I draw a Mary. And it's okay, I the whole point is to get to Gollum and to save some corruption. If I get Strider there, it's obviously really bad, but it's really bad either way, right? If I get Strider or if I don't get Strider, I'm still it's a little like it's really high, but like I can't move through Mordor and not risk Strider one more time, right? Like it's very much I'm gonna be moving 5 more times, and I'm probably gonna need him at least 3 more times. So it's not really enough at the before I see this is Mary, right? So it's Mary, and I'm really lucky because I get to hide with this and declare Mordor hidden. And I draw again 2 very unplayable cards. They're nice, but all right. I'm in Mordor Fellowship, and they roll 4 eyes. They add 1, they roll 3, and they get this abysmal roll. And I also get this abysmal roll. That's not actually that bad for them. Now that I'm thinking, right? They're gonna get mouth. They're gonna attack 3 times and maybe Palantir attacks. It's not a bad roll actually, but it's a really bad roll for me. I can only move once, and maybe move second time with the ring, right? And the hunt pool looking like this, which means more reveals than not. I will need to probably hide with the Strider. So before they can put any tiles in, I move, and they get a 2 revealed. And at this point, I think I make the biggest mistake of the game, which I decide to take a random. And it's Strider. And this 2 revealed random is a mistake because I can very easily get to 5, hide with 1 die, and move again. Because all these Palantirs are basically useless. Like, I have no playable cards. Right? And if I'm revealed, which like I am, I'm gonna be revealed, right? I can't even hide. I'm gonna have to use a ring to hide, and that's just awful, right? So there's because of the dice I have, plus the fellowship being relatively like healthy. I have no playable cards. The shadow player is not gonna win this turn, right? They have to take Woodland Realm. Let's say they took it with one attack, and they have two or three more attacks to get two more points, which they can't do, right? Like logistically, they can't. So I have this turn, so I need to dunk by the end of next turn, but like I can't like I need every bit of movement and hide abilities I need, which Strider has, right? Strider allows you to turn one of these dice into a very useful hide. And I just mistakenly just take Strider. And I don't think this is unlucky for me to get him because it's 1 and 4 technically. But like to not have gotten him by now, it's 50-50. To have to get to random into Strider in the first three picks, three randoms is 50-50. So it's not unlucky, it's not lucky, it's just the luck kind of balancing itself out. So yeah, I just don't think I should have pushed my luck this much because the first two I believe that they're correct. The first one's definitely correct. The second one is maybe questionable, right? But like if you go back and now if you imagine I'm at 5, right? Because I no, if I would be at what? Wait, 2? No, yeah, I would be at 4. Now I'd be at 6 with if I eat this 2, right? I was at 1. If I drew a 3 to not risk a random, I would be at 4. And now this 2, if I don't risk it, I'm at 6. I'm at 6 corruption with 5 in the pool, which means any eyes drawn, which are not unlikely, right? It's like a 40% to draw maybe here, 35% to draw an eye. A little above, like a little better than 1/3, which means I get 5 reveal, which is like boom, I'm at 11. At that point, I would have to take Strider as a casualty, so it's like and I'm at 8 at revealed, and the 4 movement for the last 3, it's a little dicey, right? Um, so I believe that taking the random on the 3 was correct, but like taking this 2 is not because I should be at 5 and just have Strider hide and get moving because I don't have enough action dice to actually dunk, right? If I can't move this turn, I need to roll 1, 2, 3, 4 movements in the next turn plus a ring. So I need to roll 3 movements and a ring move and hope I never get revealed. Hope nothing bad happens. And it's just a mistake. It's just too unlikely to happen. And my opponent just correctly just they attack Woodland Realm, they play Deadly Strife, I confuse them, not really. They get 4 hits, I get 3 hits. Yeah, they just blow it up with the Deadly Strife. Now they're at 8. And it sucks, right? I'm at turn 6. I'm on turn 6 and I'm drawing a character dice with the Palantir. Like it's just awful. At least I draw a good card, right? So my opponent gets the mouth. I play the Elven Rope. They play Shelobs, right? Now, whatever. And yeah, I recruit into to Carrick. I recruit into Carrick. Like, what else am I gonna do with the army dice? Gondor's not at war because yeah, I didn't put it to war. And the only place that I can technically do something is if I go for Dale or something, but like that's just or maybe I can retake Lorien if I get a crazy roll. Yeah, just rough, right? And my opponent just merges up in Lord Dunland, and at this point I realize, hey, they don't even have to take any stronghold. They can just go for Pelargir and Shire or Rivendell. Like this army is big enough to threaten both. I ring hide and just feel bad. And my opponent moves to South Downs, I think it's called. Yeah. Well, what are you gonna do? Turn 7. I get an Ents and Red Arrow. I throw away the Path of the Wolves, I think. I roll, my opponent rolls one more eye, and I roll the perfect movement roll. Like, this is enough to dunk, provided that I'm never revealed. And never being revealed or hitting a red is a tall order, right? There are 7 tiles that do that, and only 6 that don't. So this is a very much a last grasp, and I move immediately, and okay, it's a 0. My opponent shadows moving it. My opponent has won this round militarily. There's nothing I can technically do to defend any of the places. So I'm basically, it depends whether Fellowship can get uber lucky to dunk. And I can, yeah, I'm revealed, therefore it's over. It's GG. Yeah, I can hide, I can move again, but like I'm stuck here. Unfortunate. And my opponent gets the Shire. And at this point, they're just gonna take Pelargir and it's over. And for some reason, my opponent kind of not does that immediately. They just move Nazgul around and do some stuff. I'm not really sure why. And my only last ditch effort is to play Reaper the Swifter, move this Dol Amroth army into Pelargir, and maybe have a last stand in Pelargir. So I try, like, my opponent doesn't even have to do this, but they entertain me, I want to say. And they just put all the Nazgul here, and I put all the Gandalf. I also have a scout, so I can technically scouts away and then re-engage if need be, right? But my opponent does something really smart, I think. They just kind of swap these around, and at this point, I'm like, okay, I can do this and that. And they just besiege Minas Tirith. They're just like, okay, like, yeah, cool army, bro. And then just besiege Minas Tirith, and I have no dice left. I can't do anything, and they just play Grand into a Deadly Strife, completely blow it up. And yeah, with 3 turns of combat later, they get their hits, and it's GG. I mean, they were getting that, right? They had another attack. I had 0 playable cards. Yeah, my opponent gets it, and that's the game. So if you have to look at statistics, it's very average game, right? These dice are obviously swapped. My opponent got a little like low on 6s, but their card play and everything very much compensated for that. They were like super, you know, efficient with their movement and attacks and their dice use. So, and I didn't roll that many dice, so that doesn't matter. They didn't roll that many eyes. They had some more hybrids. And then again, interesting thing, I rolled 32 action dice, and I got exactly 16 movement, which is just enough to dunk, right? With 3 rings, with extra 3 rings. I didn't use 2 rings, and I used the other one to hide. So I didn't use them. So the extra C dice that they wasted for me to hide with Strider and whatnot definitely allowed the Fellowship to not move, right? Had I moved an extra time somewhere, or had I been into Mordor a turn prior, and I had another turn from here, I could have done it. If I had Strider, right, and hide here, ring moved, hide here, ring moved, I could have like been really easily. I could have been really easily in range of dunking. So that one turn where I completely messed up the getting into Mordor, which is a valid strategy. Like, I just basically bank on the fact that I'm going to roll enough movements. That's the sprint part, right? But like I think the separation of companions and actually not taking as many hits and not wasting away your muster die were um were the better play overall. But like had I been into Mordor, I still could have won, right? Because I did roll enough movements and whatnot. And even so, this last like two reveal in this the first movement and gotten getting Strider. If Strider had not died or if I had not taken a random, I might still be in contention to actually dunk. Because even though all of those things happen, I could have hide and ring move and I'd be at step 5. So I was like one movement away, or like one movement and a hide away from actually dunking, right? Technically. So it was actually a close game, even though Shadow was this fast with their military and this efficient. And they had new powers rising and very good Grand and Urukai. Just they completely blew up Lorien, right? And and I think the game I played was like a very much a bad way to play Fellowship Sprint. Even though I'm a big fan of not sprinting all the way and the separating companions, like I said, had I not taken this random, I would again was in I could have dunk. But you live and you learn, you make mistakes and you learn from them. And I hope this video was instructional. Um, and I think that yeah, it's just it was a very standard game, right? Like a lot of games go Fellowship sprint and then you don't enroll enough movements in Mordor track, or you get revealed, or you random into Strider. Like all these things sort of happen all the time. Um, to actually prevent the Fellowship sprint to actually succeeding properly, right? Had I used maybe a ring or two before, like my if I had moved earlier, like all these sorts of things, it's on a very tiny balance. To it's really difficult to actually um, to gauge whether you should go towards fellowships, because moving the fellowship is very easy. You already want to do it, so you don't want to maybe waste time separating companions and kind of cut down on your own time. But it's at the same time, it's really interesting because Gollum is really powerful in Mordor, right? Like, and you slow down the shadow militarily as much as you can. So yeah, it's a little bit of a misplayed sprint on my end, but it didn't have to be that way. Um, and one more thing I forgot to mention at the time, like if I had the Bilbo song, for example, I might be more inclined to take a two more corruption because I know I have a heal, right? But because I'm not seeing any heals, I'm less inclined to take the corruption, which probably ended up maybe risking the Strider, right? And I have these dead ends, and I had this ends from way earlier, and I should have probably put them in use in Helm's Deep, but I didn't because I was like, hey, hold ends and kill Saruman, end to end to end, and it's just like kill Saruman. But one, that usually never comes to fruition, and two, I think shadow players are just like good enough to realize, hey, if I just put 4 units here, even two ends are not gonna kill it, right? Two ends supposed to get 3 hits on average, so leaving 4 units here is very safe, and they just clog your hand. So uh, very well played by my opponent. Um, I think it was a very instructive game for me, and hope it was for you as well. So have a good day, and I hope you got something out of this. So I'll catch you next time. Bye.